Good morning and welcome to the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Senator Daly.
Here.
Senator Ellison. Senator Flores.
Present.
Senator Lang. Senator Rogish. Senator Scheibel. Senator Steinbeck. Chair Pazina.
Present. Thank you so much, and please mark Senator Lang present when she arrives. Welcome to the members of our audience in Carson City as well as Las Vegas and those following along online. Before we begin, because we do have a number of people in here today, we will make just a few housekeeping reminders. First, we'd like to remind everyone to silence all of your electronic devices. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, all of which are listed on the agenda. You may also submit public comment in writing, either in addition to testifying or in the place of testifying. And if you wish to testify in person, please sign in at the table by the door and provide your business card to our committee secretary. When testifying in person, please turn the microphones on to speak and off to listen. Please do state and spell your name clearly for the record. Anyone who'd like to receive electronic notifications of scheduled bills and access to the committee's meeting materials may do so by signing up on Nellis on the legislative website. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other exhibits. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Also, we do have 5 bill hearings in here today, so I would ask that everyone try to be brief. We are also only going to provide 10 minutes in support, 10 minutes in opposition, 10 minutes in neutral. So while you do have up to 2 minutes to make your comment, please do be reminded that that may be taking time away from someone else in that 10-minute span. But we also always remind you that you can turn your full comments in writing where they'll be read by the committee. Just turn those into the committee secretary and we'll make sure that we read your comments in full, whether you're cut off or whether you're not able to testify in full. So with that, we are going to move to our first agenda item of the day, which is Assembly Bill 52, which revises provisions relating to the payment of claims under policies of health insurance. And we welcome Majority Leader Howdigi and her co-presenters.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for having me today. I'm Sandra Howdigi, representing Assembly District 41, and I'm presenting Assembly Bill 52, commonly known as the Prompt Pay Law, alongside the Nevada Commission on Minority Affairs, Commissioner Wyatt. This is a very important bill and hearing for the medical profession, and I want to start by saying thank you so much for making time to hear it this morning. Over the 21-22 interim and during the 23 legislative session, I worked on a few bills that were aimed at addressing the healthcare workforce shortage in Nevada. And I did so because my constituents would tell me at the door that they would have to wait months to see their doctor. It's no secret that we have a shortage of doctors, nurses, mental health professionals, you name it, and we fall short of those providers. The bill you have before you will not only enhance the financial stability of our healthcare providers, but also improve access to quality care for our residents. By ensuring that physicians are reimbursed promptly, we create a more supportive environment for medical professionals, encouraging them to practice in Nevada and ultimately strengthen our healthcare system. This bill is about making Nevada one of the most attractive places for doctors to practice, especially brand new doctors who can't afford to keep the overhead that longer established doctors can sometimes barely carry. Nevada has existing provisions imposing a series of requirements and penalties intended to ensure healthcare professionals and insureds are paid in a timely fashion. So this isn't a new concept. Currently, administrators of health insurance plans and certain health insurers, including our own PEB, must approve or deny a claim within 30 days after the insurer receives the claim. If the administrator or insurer approves the claim must be paid within 30 days after the claim is approved. And an administrator or insurer that fails to pay a claim within a required time period must pay interest on that claim at a prescribed rate. This legislation takes that time period from 30 days to 50 days for private insurers only, ensuring greater economic security for our medical providers. Georgia also participates in prompt pay laws. Under Georgia state law, insurers must process payments within 15 working days after receiving clean claims or face penalties of up to 18% of the benefit due. The state's insurance commissioner has been steadfast in enforcing these laws, and insurers have complied without undue financial burden. With your permission, Chair, I would like to turn it over to our Commissioner Wyatt to give some remarks, and then I'll give just a brief walkthrough of the bill.
Gabriela Wyatt for the record, Gabriela Wyett.
Good morning, distinguished committee members of the Senate. My name is Gabriela Wyatt, and I currently have the privilege of serving as chair of the Nevada Commission on Minority Affairs. On behalf of the commission, we thank you for providing us an opportunity to discuss AB 52. We are grateful to discuss the bill and the purpose behind it. Fundamentally, this bill seeks to lessen the time periods in which a doctor receives reimbursement from private insurers for care rendered to Nevada patients. With the advent of electronic claim submission and payment, the extended delay in processing of claims is unnecessary. The premise of this bill blossomed from a personal experience. Although I'm a very private person, to influence change, I must share a small part of my journey. My children and I had fled a domestic violence situation over 4 years ago. Throughout the first 2 years, we struggled with housing instability and ended up losing health care benefits. Because of the kindness and grace of a doctor, he treated my kids while they were extremely sick due to lack of resources. Through conversation, he had mentioned the delay in pay from insurance carriers and discussed how his colleagues were leaving to more affluent areas and leaning into concierge services. This exodus creates healthcare deserts precisely in communities where residents already struggle with transportation barriers and endure hours-long waits for basic care. I come before the Senate not as an expert in policy or law, but as someone who has lived in the gaps of our healthcare system. With the additional assistance of subject matter experts and policy experts, we have been able to bring AB 52 to life. This has been a labor of love, diligently working with my fellow Commissioner Juani Romero, who chairs the Legislative Committee, to bring this bill before you. I'd like to especially thank Majority Leader Hadeghi for her support and appearance today in presenting this bill to the committee. We need our doctors. Nevada's healthcare system is fractured, and we're challenged with keeping and recruiting doctors, and more so in certain demographics. We think this small step can help facilitate some ease for doctors to practice in Nevada, making it more likely for doctors to come and remain in the state and be a part of our economic development and healthcare infrastructure. I thank you all for your time and providing me with the opportunity to share our story and the purpose behind this bill. Thank you all so much.
And Madam Chair, just a quick walkthrough of the bill. Section 1 requires the Division of Insurance of the Department of Business and Industry to establish and carry out a campaign to inform healthcare providers and insureds under health insurance policies of certain information relating to the payment of claims. Establish a program to provide additional support and resources to healthcare providers who operate newly opened or small healthcare practices in navigating the process for seeking reimbursement, and ensure insurers comply with the timely processing of insurance claims. Sections 2, 5, 8 through 11, 14, 16, 20, and 22 replace the existing claim repayment requirements I mentioned with uniform time period requirements of health insurance providers, and would require each administrator or insurer to approve or deny a claim, and if the claim is approved, pay the claim within 15 days after receiving the claim if the claim is submitted electronically, or 30 days after receiving the claim if the claim is not submitted electronically. Sections 2, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, 17, 18, 20, and 22 require private health insurers to provide notice of the denial of a claim within 30 days after receiving all information necessary to make a determination. And with that, I have my co-presenters and I here ready to answer questions.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions from the committee? Okay, I don't think so. I will say we got these bills late yesterday, and so I think we've looked at them, but I appreciate the breakdown of the bill as well. Not seeing any questions, we thank you so much, and we'll have you take a step back from the table. Reminding everyone again, just with so many committees and such busy days at the end of session, we are doing 10, 10, 10 for support, opposition, and neutral for each bill today. So we'll start with support on Assembly Bill 52 here in Carson City or in Las Vegas. Not seeing anyone coming to the table broadcast. Anyone on the line?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 52, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll move to any opposition on Assembly Bill 52. Not seeing anyone coming forward in our physical locations, we are going to move to the phone lines. Broadcast, anyone on the phone in opposition of Assembly Bill 52?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 52, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers wishing to testify at this time.
Thank you. And while you're there, can you see if there's anyone in neutral? Thank you, broadcast.
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 52, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers wishing to testify neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone here in the crowd? Oh, look, Adam Plain is here. I knew it was going to happen again. Welcome to the table.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Adam Plain, P-L-A-I-N, with the Nevada Division of Insurance. Just here establishing a clear legislative record on AB 52. The division has no issue with the policy provisions of the bill. I did want to note that we do have an undetermined fiscal note resulting from Section 1. The division is not currently set up to do the kind of outreach that Section 1 would require in terms of outreaching to consumers and instructing providers. We're perfectly happy to do that outreach. It just depends on what the legislature would like us to do. If they want to process this with no fiscal impact, I think I mentioned in a prior committee, we'd be happy to put a notice on our website of how to comply with the provisions of the bill. That would cost the state nothing. If they want a more robust outreach, then we would probably need to go to IFC to acquire some funding for that. So just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any questions for Mr. Plain? Not seeing any. We thank you so much for being here today. Do we have any closing comments from the sponsor?
Just really quick, Chair, because Mr. Plain did make those comments during the Ways and Means hearing as well, and it was our intent that the information on the website would be sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that said, because we actually have the entire committee here right now, which will not happen for a good deal of the morning because we're doing a number of other committees ourselves, I am going to work session Assembly Bill 52, which revises provisions relating to the payment of claims under policies of health insurance, which was heard moments ago. Today on May 30th, 2025, in these waning days of session. So with that said, do we have any questions on Assembly Bill 52? All right, I don't see any questions. I will accept a motion to, I'm guessing there's no amendments? I will accept a motion to do pass.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion from Senator Scheibel, a second from Senator Flores. And do we have any further discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, the motion carries. AB 52 will move out of work session here today. And the floor statement, do we have any volunteers for the floor statement? Senator Scheibel, you spoke up first, so you get the floor statement. Congratulations. And good morning. And with that, we are going to move to Assembly Bill 76, which revises provisions relating to cannabis, and we will welcome Director Hum.
Thank you, Chair Pazina, Vice Chair Daley, and members of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. My name is James Hum, and I serve as the Executive Director of the Nevada Cannabis Compliance Board. Joining me in Las Vegas is Deputy Director Michael Miles, our Chief of Health and Safety, Kara Cronkite, and our Administrative Law Judge, Amy Meyer. This agency-generated bill mainly addresses what I like to refer to as a run-the-agency bill. These are mainly operational concepts that we have found would be useful to assist and streamline the operations of the agency. These include changes to the administrative hearing process, clarification on the requirements of ID scanning at cannabis sales facilities, the definition of synthetic cannabinoid. It also adds language to allow for an immediate temporary cease of operations due to imminent health hazards, and this is consistent with other agencies enforcing public health. It also revises package size limits to be consistent with new possession limits and industry demands. Since I last saw you all in February, we've been busy working on quite a few amendments that have been implemented in collaboration with Chair Miller and her committee, as well as industry and key stakeholders. In an effort to streamline the presentation of the bill, I'd like to give a brief overview of why the amendment is coming forward and then walk you through each of the amended sections. After that, we'd be happy to take any questions about our proposed changes and additional sections of the bill that members might have questions about. General intent of the amendments was to address industry and stakeholder interest in additional studies relevant to the cannabis industry, to make minor adjustments to final language to align with CCB intent, and to provide clarifying language to address industry concerns. Section 8.5, which was added in Assembly Ways and Means, adds a section to provide a regulatory framework of label. The amendment is intended to provide a definition to clarify regulatory protocol and correspond with the proposed amended language in Section 11. This is consistent with what we also have currently in regulation. Section 9.5, same definition on packaging. Section 10.3, synthetic cannabinoids. This is an inclusion of additional defining language, expands what is not included in the definition of synthetic cannabinoids to accommodate advances in cannabis manufacturing while continuing to require board approval for process to ensure safety. Section 11, labeling of cannabis and cannabis packaging. This amendment addresses industry concern regarding the requirement to produce a new label or warning at each transfer within the regulatory process. This amendment eliminates duplicative labels and warnings and considers and reduces the environmental impact of the regulation. Section 11.3, notices of violation. This removes the language for the board to adopt provisions or regulations for the notices of violation originally included in NRS 678A520. As this section was removed by the proposed amendment in Section 15, that section is no longer needed. Section 12.3J, this amendment adds to the below language that was removed by error in the drafting process. Per this amendment, information and data relating to a civil penalty paid pursuant to a violation remains non-confidential. This amendment maintains the intent of the CCB that such information should remain non-confidential. Section 12.3K, this addressed industry concerns that releases of aforementioned information, letters of warning, letters of concern, could be utilized to negatively impact licensees without due process right to contest. The proposed language is removed. Sections 14 and 15, changes to the hearing process. This amendment removes proposed language providing the executive director authority to issue a complaint. The board maintains that authority to issue these complaints. This amendment removes all reference to proposed language regarding that notice of violation. The intent was proposed language providing the executive director authority to issue a complaint, and the additional non-formal complaint structure for notice of violation was found to be in conflict with industry views. Section 20, subpoena authority. This reinstates the board's authority to enforce noncompliance with the subpoena. The intent, this was a technical amendment that reinstates language providing the board's authority to enforce a subpoena issued by the board. Section 26 removes the authority for myself, the executive director, to issue letters of concern or non-punitive admonishment. This reinstates the board as the body that issues the complaints, dovetailing with the removal of the other language I just noted. Section 28, transportation of cannabis. We remove this section due to redundancy with NRS 678D440. This avoids confusion, and in conjunction with industry input, Section 28 was removed. Section 29, definition of substantial health hazard, time for inspection, time for hearing. This defines the period of interruption for 2 hours. This amendment addresses concerns that brief interruptions of electrical service would necessitate the supporting of a substantial hazard. This amendment more narrowly defines the requirement to establish the goal of protecting public health. Section 30, suspension hearing and reinstatement process, reduces the time for reinspection by CCB agents from 10 days to as soon as practicable, but within 2 business days, reduces the time for hearing from 45 days to 14 days. The proposed amendment addresses the concerns that under the prior timeline, licensees could sustain an extended period of closure due to one of those hazards. To address these concerns, board examined internal processes and amended language reflects significant reductions in timeline for reinspection and hearing. Section 39.7, cannabis vending machines. This amendment reverts to the existing statutory language. Full removal in the language of Section 39.7 does not reflect the intent of the CCB that vending machines shall not be utilized in cannabis facilities. Section 40, cannabis packaging, adds language in 40B prohibiting the use of an anthropomorphic image in cannabis packaging. Section 40.4, cannabis advertising. Section 40 removes proposed language which would have subjected cannabis packaging to the same prohibitions as cannabis advertising. We worked with industry on this, and they asked that we remove that section. Another new section from Assembly Ways and Means. This is the study of the potential for regulation, distribution, and taxation of hemp-derived intoxicating THC products and beverages in Nevada. We aim to study that through a subcommittee of the Cannabis Advisory Commission, of which I chair. Worked very closely with industry on the language for that study. Next up is the additional study we also added in Ways and Means. This is a study to consider the elimination of the wholesale cannabis excise tax, coupled with a potential increase to the current retail cannabis tax rate of 10%. Also worked closely with industry, as well as looked at AB 307, which had a similar concept. So if that bill does not move forward, we're going to continue to study that issue. Section 44.2, maintaining medical cannabis records for 120 days. The 120-day retention requirement does not include Nevada cardholders. It's only applicable to out-of-state medical card holders only, and information is provided if applicable. This section was amended to make the request on licenses to maintain records for an additional period as narrowly tailored as possible to serve the needs of the board to conduct those audits. Because medical card holders are subject to a lower sales tax than recreational consumers, these records are relevant to an audit, and because Nevada cardholder information can be verified, the amendment limits the additional retention time to just the out-of-state medical cards. Section 48, limits on ounces, milligrams per purchase, additional increases in single packaging limits for concentrated cannabis and topical products. This is to meet consumer demand for increased single packaging amounts of topical and concentrated cannabis and to decrease the cost and environmental impact of packaging, while also considering health and safety by limiting this increase to products that are not subject to overconsumption. This amendment increases the single packaging limits for topicals and concentrated cannabis. Section 50, this reinstates language removed in the bill. Through discussions with, it was determined that the bill change will not meet the needs as desired. Therefore, it is appropriate to reinstate the original language. 52.3 further defines ownership of information received from the tribal governments. This amendment clarifies and utilizes language that more appropriately reflects the agreement that not only is tribal information held in confidence, but this information remains the property of the tribal government. And with that, Chair, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you so much. Again, a reminder, we got these referrals late yesterday, so I don't think we have any incredible speed readers. So there might be questions that may be covered in the bill, but we just didn't have time to go through it like we usually would. So with that, we'll start with Senator Scheibel.
Thank you. I'm a little bit concerned about subsection 4 of section 11, and I'm hoping that you can explain to us what that kind of hearing would look like if you're issuing a subpoena for someone's presence who you what is the term here? You have cause to believe is engaging in unlicensed cannabis activities.
Thank you for the question, Chair. If you don't mind, I'm going to send it down to our ALJ down in Las Vegas. Thank you.
Just push the red button. Oh. Hello, for the record, Amy Meyer. Thank you for the question. What you're referring to is the board's ability to provide a subpoena for unlicensed cannabis activities that they're aware of. This was something that went into legislation during the last session, and this was taken out. And we were told by LCB that this needs to go in order for the board to be able to issue those subpoenas. So that's what that language is about.
Can you just clarify, you said that it went into law previously and was removed, or it was in a previous bill and didn't pass?
Good morning. This is Deputy Director Michael Miles, Michal-Miles. Yes, this went into a law last session. The only thing that was missing, as LCB let us know, that we needed to have very specific subpoena rights in the bill to be able to issue subpoenas for these type of issues. And so we took LCB's instruction and we added it to our bill this year.
Okay, thank you. Maybe legal could weigh in here. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Coulomé, could you please weigh in for us? And thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Coulomé from the Legal Division. For the record, speaking off the top of my head and completely from memory, I think that what we're describing is possibly an administrative regulation that I don't think I was personally involved with, but it sounds like it makes sense that the subpoena power would have needed to be brought in a bill to be enacted into law and not brought uniquely in the regulatory process. But I can try to take a look if you give me a couple of minutes and see if I can find that reference.
Thank you. If I may, excuse me, if I may, Chair, I appreciate that from a legal perspective, we need the language in the bill in order to effectuate the subpoena power. My concern is more about the policy of giving the board that subpoena power. And so maybe someone could explain to me if this is common practice amongst other regulatory boards? And again, what that hearing would look like when somebody responds to a subpoena who you have cause to believe is engaged in unlicensed cannabis activity.
Again, Deputy Director Miles for the record. I don't believe other boards have this type of hearing. Other states have implemented this policy for unlicensed cannabis sales. It allows us to, let's say there's a storefront that's selling illegal cannabis. We're allowed to go in, issue subpoenas, bring them in front of our ALJ, hear them civilly, and fine them for their selling illicit cannabis. We probably can also do this as well for synthetic cannabis and other types of illicit cannabis sales throughout the state. Again, it just allows a way to civilly fine them for selling illicit cannabis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I believe that Vice Chair Daley had a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if you can refer me back to this section, you talked about 2 studies. So I just, and as our chair said, we had a chance to look at these very briefly. So if it's in there, I'm not sure. So are those completely within the cannabis board? Are they appointed by somebody on the board, or is it outside governor and other people appointing to those 2 studies?
Thank you for the question, Senator Daley. James Hum for the record. That will be under the guise of the Cannabis Advisory Commission. Cannabis Advisory Commission is appointed by the governor, those members. But then within that, I have the ability as the chair of that advisory committee to appoint a subcommittee. And within that subcommittee, we can appoint others as well that are not necessarily on the committee to come in as subject matter experts. We currently have a subcommittee on the economics of the industry, and 2 of those members on the subcommittee out of the 5 are actually not on the advisory commission as well. So it enables us to bring in subject matter experts for those studies to help meet the needs of that committee and what all that they take a look at.
Thank you. So what sections was that in? But I think that answers my question. So it's within that. You guys are just going to do a subcommittee within an existing board structure. And then you guys would have the ability, if you're given authority, to establish the subcommittee parts. But then internally, you can also end that committee. We don't want to have another commission out there that exists in perpetuity when their work is done.
Yes, thank you for the question, Senator Daley. James Hum for the record. That is all accurate. It's a standing statutory advisory commission that meets when I ask them to meet, and then those subcommittees dissolve the subcommittees of the CAC dissolve as soon as their work is done. We did a subcommittee on rescheduling and descheduling that was put in statute last session. The subcommittee did an excellent job, and then after that, that subcommittee dissolved. So there won't be any additional committees, just subcommittees created for this purpose that will then go away. But the standing CAC, Cannabis Advisory Commission, that is in statute, that will remain.
And if I one more, if I can, and just a follow-up to the previous line of questioning on the subpoenas and all that stuff. So if you guys get to a hearing, are you going to run under rules of procedure under 622A, there's 233B, or do you already have internal hearing structure within the cannabis? What's the hearing process?
James Hum for the record, I believe it's 233B, but I will kick that down to Deputy Director Miles if he wants to clarify.
Again, Deputy Director Miles for the record, you're correct. We were brought under the APA process last session, so it will be under 233B.
Well, I understand you came under that for regulations, if you go forward with regulations, and I'm glad you did that. I'm a fan of that. But there's contested cases under 233B, so I think the regulatory process is separate from that. So you use 233B for the contested cases portion for the hearing.
Correct. We have a few independent statutory provisions, but we also have, it's all modeled under 233B, and we follow 233B for those types of hearings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'd also like to turn it back over to Mr. Coulomé in regards to the subpoena discussion earlier to get that on record.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Coulomé from the Legal Division. Just to follow up with the citation as promised, the regulation request that the subpoena issue came up in was R152-24. As I said, I don't have any other information about what was going on with that reg at the time, but just so the record is clear, and that is on the register online.
Okay. And also, I'd like to thank the staff so much because we thought we were in our last meeting on Wednesday and then 10 more bills got referred yesterday. So a huge thank you to our staff as well, who was still emailing me and hard at work later than anyone in this room cares to admit last night. So thank you for all of your hard work. Do we have any further questions? Senator Rogish, I'm used to cannabis questions from you. Any questions? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. With that, we'll have you take a step back, Director, and we will welcome testimony in support of Assembly Bill 76.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Chelsea Capro here on the Nevada Cannabis Association. We want to thank the executive director for working with us very thoroughly on this bill. We are very much in strong support. I also had to phone a friend on Senator Scheibel's question, so I do have a little bit of an update there. Last session, Senator Wynn brought forward SB 328, which authorized the CCB to investigate and issue civil penalties for unlicensed cannabis sales. Instead of criminal penalties. They approved the regs to begin the process, but in reviewing the regs, LCB said they needed subpoena power. So hence, in this bill. Thank you.
Good morning. Brett Scolari, Strategies 360 for Thrive Cannabis Marketplace and Cura Cannabis Solutions. Members of the committee, appreciate your time today and thank Director Hum for working with us on this bill, and we are in full support. Thank you.
Good morning, Alex Tanchek with Silver State Government Relations, representing GTI Nevada, here in support of the bill. Thank you very much.
All right. Not seeing anyone else in person. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone lines who'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 76?
If you would like to testify in support of AB 76, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in support at this time.
All right. Do we have anyone who'd like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 76? Not seeing anyone in person, we are going to head back to UAVH. Anyone on the line?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 76, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, my name is Sean McCoy from Reno, Nevada. As we sit here today, smoking cannabis in a cannabis consumption lounge is prohibited under the Nevada Clean Indoor Air Act. If it wasn't, Section 51 would not exist. I just want to make that clear so that everybody is aware. Specifically, the provision of the Nevada Clean Indoor Air Act says any statute or regulation inconsistent with its terms is null and void. So all the laws and regulations passed allowing smoking in cannabis compliance, cannabis lounges by the Cannabis Compliance Board are currently null and void. This is not a conforming measure. This is going to create a further exception in the Clean Indoor Air Act, allowing secondhand smoke in places of employment, around people in public places. That's what this is going to do. So I urge you to vote no on AB 76 and keep secondhand smoke out of Nevada. Thank you.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently in opposition of AB 76. If you would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone in neutral? Not seeing anyone coming forward, nor would I expect Adam Plain to come forward for this one. In our physical locations, we are going to move to the phone lines. AVH, back to you. Anyone on the phone who'd like to testify in neutral on AB 76?
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 76, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. And Director, I don't know if you want to make any comments in regards to the Indoor Air Act or anything that was just shared by our caller in regards to the consumption lounges.
James Hum for the record. Yes, just to clarify, I believe that was an oversight when the consumption lounges were initially approved and put into statute. So we just wanted to make sure that that they would still be able to operate. So that's why we added Section 51. It's a conforming change.
Okay, thank you so much. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 76. I'm going to wait till the end of the meeting to do any additional work sessions, just because it'll be a lot easier to speak and see where everyone is on every bill, to speak with our committee who also got these bills very late. And I want to make sure everyone is on board before moving forward. And we thank you so much for being with us today, Director. And we are going to take this a little bit out of order because I believe that Assembly Member Nguyen is due up in Government Affairs shortly. So we're going to move to Assembly Bill 483 next, which provides for priority review of certain applications for licensure to practice health professions. And with that, we welcome you to the table.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate your flexibility. Happy Day 117 for those who celebrate. Good morning, Chair Pazina, Vice Chair Daley, and members of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Labor. For the record, my name is Yui Nguyen. I represent Assembly District 8 in Southwest Las Vegas. Thank you again for the opportunity to present AB 483, which originates from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Health and Human Services. This bill is a targeted and strategic effort to address one of our state's most urgent challenges, and that is the persistent shortage of healthcare professionals, particularly in historically underserved communities. As many of you are aware, Nevada consistently ranks near the bottom nationally in terms of healthcare access to provider-to-patient ratio. These shortages are felt most accurately in areas where economic, geographic, and social barriers already prevent residents from receiving timely and adequate care. The result is a deepening disparity in health outcomes, something we can and must work to change. AB 483 seeks to be part of that change. This bill proposes a clear and actionable step to require healthcare licensing boards and relevant agencies to establish a process for prioritizing the review and approval of licensure application for providers who intend to primarily serve in historically underserved communities. Join me this morning to help provide an overview of AB 483 is Victor Salcido, General Counsel and Director of Government Affairs with Community Health Alliance, a key partner in advancing access to primary care in underserved areas across Nevada.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Victor Salcido with Community Health Alliance. Community Health Alliance is a federally qualified health center located in Washoe County. We operate 6 different health clinics, and we serve over 33,000 patients annually. We provide comprehensive services, including primary medical care, dental care, behavioral health services, a full-service pharmacy, and an innovative food prescription program through our food pantries. As an FQHC, we operate under significant oversight from HRSA, and in exchange for that, we commit to serving all patients, regardless of their ability to pay. This is based on the shared understanding that when people can access timely, affordable primary care, not only do individual health outcomes improve, but the entire community benefits. Preventing expensive emergency room visits and avoiding hospitalizations is both fiscally responsible and morally sound. However, a major barrier to fulfilling this mission is the delay of licensing qualified medical providers, particularly those coming from out of state or newly graduated. The provider shortage in Nevada is real, and it is deeply felt in underserved areas like the ones we serve. We actively recruit and invest significant resources to onboarding new providers, sometimes spending tens of thousands of dollars in relocation expenses, credentialing, administrative onboarding, and training, only to have those providers sit idle, waiting months for a license to practice. These delays are not just frustrating, they're costly. Every week a provider cannot see patients is a week we lose critical revenue and patients go without care. When providers are weighing job offers, often from multiple states, the difference between an 8-week versus an 8-month licensing timeline can be the deciding factor on where that medical provider decides to take that job. Prioritizing the licensing of providers who are committed to serving in high need areas is not only logical, it's urgent. It ensures patients don't wait longer than necessary for the care they need, and it supports the very communities that need these professionals the most. With your permission, I'd like to kind of go through AB 483. It's a fairly short bill, but I know you just got these recently, and so happy to go through it for you. Section 1 of the bill simply defines what historically underserved community would mean, which again is the target that we're looking for here. Section 2 is just conforming changes. Section 3 is specific to emergency medical care, but that's not the limit of this bill. This is just this particular section, and it has information on what else is necessary for that priority. Section 4 dictates or contains some information concerning what the regulations must have. Section 5 of the bill is where you get the broader healthcare provider language as opposed to Section 3, which was just limited to the emergency care personnel. And then the rest of Section 5 also talks about, again, the definition of historically underserved community. And as you can see, there's various ways that are various situations that fall under that definition. Designated as a qualified census tract by the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Immediately preceding census, at least 20% of the households are not proficient in English. 2, a public school in the state which 75% or more of the enrolled pupils are eligible for free or reduced lunch. And then a qualified tribal land as well. And then also provides the definition for a provider of health care. This is an issue, again, that we at Community Health Alliance face. We could tell you stories of, for example, I know one medical provider who was weighing job options and really wanted to come back to Reno. And thanks to the connections she had, she was able to make that happen. But she had to wait 10 months to get this licensing through. And she was weighing a job offer from the state of New Jersey, I want to say, and they got it done in 1 month. So again, not only was she wanting to get back to Nevada, she wanted to serve specifically in these underserved communities. So this is one of those situations that, again, from an organizational standpoint, it's frustrating, but from the provider weighing the job options, having a family, all the relocation expenses, everything else, that huge disparity between how quickly we can get that license through is many times the deciding factor. So thank you for your time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right, it looks like you answered everything. Thank you both so much, and we'll have you take a step back from the table, and we'll welcome anyone who'd like to come up in support of Assembly Bill 483. And again, I realize we might not get as many people just because this was posted so late. But come on up. We're running out of time, so we have some people leaving at 9, and we want to hear from you. So please go when you're ready.
Hi, Good afternoon, Chair, members of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. My name is Annie Vong, ANNIEVONG. On behalf of Nevada Primary Care Association, the state's federally qualified health centers, we support this bill and thank you.
It's lovely to see you today, and thank you for being here. I don't see anyone in Vegas, so we'll head to you. Do we have anyone on the phones broadcast in support of Assembly Bill 483?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 483, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone who'd like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 483? I don't see anyone coming forward in our physical locations, so AVH, back to you. Anyone on the phones who'd like to testify in opposition of AB 483?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 483, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Great. Do we have anyone in neutral? AVH, while we're with you, is there anyone on the line in neutral?
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 483, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Do we have anyone in person who'd like to testify in neutral at this time on Assembly Bill 483? Okay. Do we have any closing comments? All right. Sit tight for me, though, just a second before you head out. We are going to close the hearing on 483, and I've decided to keep everyone on their toes today, primarily because I realize one of our committee members has to leave at 9. And so in order to get potentially another work session out of the way, we're going to do that right now before we lose committee members so that we maintain our quorum. Because I also know we have people going to testify in various committees this morning as we're at the end of session. So I'm going to start actually, because we just heard it moments ago, with Assembly Bill 163, which enters into the, Assembly Bill 483. Obviously, I've been up too late and up too early. I apologize, everyone. Assembly Bill 483, which provides for priority review of certain applications for licensure to practice health professions. It was just presented moments ago here in the Committee on Commerce and Labor. Do we have any questions on that bill? Yep, Senator Ellison.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm going to be voting no, and I'm going to reserve my rights. I've got some questions that I need to find out. Thank you.
Sounds good. So, Assemblymember Nguyen, you know to connect with Senator Ellison. Do we have any other questions? Yep. Senator Steinbeck?
No, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm 43.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you both so much for sharing. And with that, I will accept a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 483. We have a motion from Senator Scheibel. Do we have a second? A second from our Vice Chair. Do we have any further discussion? Not seeing any. We are going to say all in favor. Please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay. We have a nay from Senators Ellison and Steinbeck, who have reserved their right and have questions. And with that, this motion does carry. And do we have any takers for the floor statement? Okay. Senator Scheibel, you're 2 for 2. Thank you so much for taking that floor statement for Assembly Bill 483. We're now also going to work session Assembly Bill 76, which was heard just moments ago, which revises provisions relating to cannabis. Here in committee, and it was presented by Director Hum. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, not seeing any. I will accept a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 76. Okay, we have a motion from Senator Lang. We have a second from our Vice Chair. Do we have any further discussion on Assembly Bill 76, which was just heard? Okay, I don't see any further discussion. So with that, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the motion carries on AB 76, and I will assign the floor statement to Senator Lang. Thank you so much. All right, and with that, we are going to we're going to backtrack in time. Is Assemblymember Hafen? Yep, he is in the room. We are going to welcome you up to the table for Assembly Bill 163, which enters into the Counseling Compact.
Good morning, Chair, Senators. It's great to be here today. My name is Gregory Hafen II, for the record, representing Assembly District 36. And Chair, if I could second your motion for being here way too late and here way too early, I would, but that is exactly why we're here today with Assembly Bill 163. I'm bringing forward the Counselor Compact to have the state of Nevada enter into that compact. This originally came from the Southern Rural Regional Behavioral Health Board as one of their suggestions and recommendations, and I volunteered to bring it because I do feel passionate about this subject in trying to help bring more mental health providers into this state. With me today, I have my intern, Elijah Weon, who's put up a great graphic of the states that are currently in the Interstate Compact. In the dark blue and then in the light blue are the states that are currently working on that, at least as of last week. I don't know if any of them passed. Just to kind of give you a brief overview, I think everybody's familiar with how Interstate Compacts works. We're really just trying to improve access to counseling, preserve and strengthen our state licensure servicing, help facilitate additional telehealth, and then grow the public safety. I can go section by section if you'd like, Chair. I did want to mention that we did amend this on the Assembly side to address the fiscal note, and I have to thank I think Joelle McNutt from the Marriage and Behavioral Health Board is in Vegas with us for working with us on that, because very small change to just shift the effective date to allow them the time to implement this and address their schedule for licensings to match up with the effective date. So with that, Chair, I'm here for any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. I see this graphic here, and I will admit that, again, late night, early morning. How many states are those in the darker blue right now, rather than me trying to slowly count them? Would you say that the compact is already in effect in?
Thank you, Chair. Gregory Hafen, for the record. I believe it's 37 states, including Washington, D.C. And then 5 states that are currently in the process of legislation, including Nevada.
Thank you so much. And one of the questions we often ask when it comes to these compacts is, would Nevada have a seat on the board?
I'm going to phone a friend and see if Director McNutt could come up and answer that question.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good morning, Assembly Member Hafen. My name is Joelle McNutt, JoelleMcNutt. I'm the Executive Director for the State of Nevada Board of Examiners for Marriage and Family Therapists, Clinical Professional Counselors. And yes, Madam Chair, we would have a seat on the commission. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you very much for being here. Do we have any other questions from the committee? I feel like we've all been beaten down today. Senator Ellison, did you have a question?
Just a comment. I didn't know that Mr. Hafen had a friend. So
through you, Chair, to the Senator, thank you, Senator. That is exactly why we need to pass this bill today. And I, Chair, with your permission, on Nellis, you will see that there are well over 100 counselors, therapists, medical professionals that have signed on to support letters and testimony supporting this. There was some that were going to be there today, but had to get to patients by 9 o'clock, and so they did have to leave. But I did want to just point that to you. So there are a lot of people that are support this to help me get friends.
37 states worth of new friends, and the District of Columbia. We do have, I think, another question for you from Senator Lang.
Thank you, and good morning. In the states, and the majority of the states have this compact, do you have any information about the impact the compact has given in that state as to, do they experience the same shortages that we're experiencing in Nevada? How has it helped? I'd like a little more information.
Thank you. Gregory Hafen for the record, through you, Chair, to Senator Lang. So when I started researching this to bring this forward as a bill, I met with a couple of counselors and therapists to discuss some of the hurdles that they reached. And one of them was telling me, I believe she had moved from Idaho to here, and it was about a 6 to 8 month process to get her license. And it puts a restriction on the entry to barrier to move here. And so it's a really disincentivizes individuals from wanting to relocate to the state of Nevada. And as we all know, especially Southern Nevada is a very transient area, and people are in and out. And then the other thing that we noticed is that, and I didn't know this, but your military families, a lot of the military spouses are counselors and therapists and in this field. And so for them, this is really important so that when they get transferred from base to base, they would be able to continue their profession here in the state, and to help on the bases and with the families. And so it just became something, and we did note that there was approximately 165,000 licensees across the nation that are currently licensed to do this. And so it really is going to expand how many counselors we have. And the other important part coming from the Southern Rural Regional Behavioral Health Board is access to the rurals. And that's where the telehealth was going to come in. Is telehealth a replacement for in-person? Absolutely not, but it is better than what we currently have in the rurals, and that is a very lack of, frankly, all medical professionals. But after the COVID pandemic, it just became very apparent that we needed to get more counselors and therapists into this state, whether it's through telehealth, and the fastest way to get them in is through the compact. The big and I got to give Director McNutt great job. They're able to process the paperwork within a week. The biggest holdup and hurdle is the federal background checks that are already done through the interstate compact, and so but then they have to reinvent the wheel. And so by them not having to reinvent the wheel, they can get these individuals to work in a matter of weeks rather than 6 to 8 months.
So on the background checks, if someone has a background check in another state, I'm thinking about the process, right? And how long it takes for someone to come. If someone has a background check in another state, when they come to Nevada, would they have another background check, or does the background check they had initially satisfy the requirement?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, Gregory Hafen for the record, through you, Chair, to Senator Lang, and Director McNutt can correct me if I'm wrong. The current process is that they would have an additional background check done. Under the Interstate Compact, the background checks are already completed through the compact, and therefore they don't have to be redone when they come to the state of Nevada. However, in the Interstate Compact, if somebody gets a ding on their record, say, that is immediately flagged to all 37 states, so that everybody knows immediately, hey, this individual has a ding, whatever that happens to be. And so it expedites the, I don't want to call bad actors because I don't know what the ding, my alleged violation is, but it lets all the states know that there is this alleged violation in this state, and really expedites. And you could look at it from the consumer protection standpoint that, the sooner that the state of Nevada knows that this individual had a problem in another state, the better consumer protection that we have. And Director McNutt can correct me if I misspoke on any of that, because she's.
We just thought we'd take a musical break. Thank you so much. Do we have any further questions? Okay. I don't see any further questions, and we thank you so much for the presentation. And also, I know it was a late night for all of us, so thank you for finding out late last night you were going to be here and being here ready first thing with coffee in hand this morning. So with that, we are going to welcome anyone who'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 163.
There we go. Good morning, Chair Pazina, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Nick Schneider, Director of Government Affairs for the Vegas Chamber. To make things brief, we are in strong support of this bill. Would like to thank the Minority Leader for bringing this forward, and are really appreciating increased access to mental health care. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Annette Logan Parker for the record. LOGAN-PARKER. To keep things short, I did provide a written testimony. I'm here on behalf of the Nevada Rare Disease Advisory Council, and we fully support this legislation. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Chair and members of Senate and Commerce Labor. My name is Annie Vong, ANNIEVONG, on behalf of Nevada Primary Care Association. We also support this bill. Thank you.
Wonderful. And those in Vegas?
Good morning, Chair Pazina and members of the Senate Committee. My name is Anahit Baghtatsyan. For the record, that is ANAHITBAGHSHETSYN, and I'm a policy analyst at Nevada Policy, and today we come in strong support of Assembly Bill 163. I know you've seen far too many interstate compacts, but this one is my favorite, so bear with me while I provide some numbers to convince you. Nevada has consistently ranked among the worst states for mental health care availability. In 2017, we had 50.4 counselors for 100,000 residents, while the national average was 181. In 2023, we had only 478 licensed clinical professional counselors, from which only 28 were in rural counties. So this means counties such as Esmeralda, Eureka, Mineral, Lander, and many more have virtually zero registered clinical counselors, which is why this compact comes in very handy. And lastly, the licensure requirements for clinical psychology are very excessive in Nevada. So the applicants must confirm their residency, and on top of that, they need to show proof of completion of 3,000 hours of supervised experience, of which at least 15,000 hours meet other special requirements, and on top of that, they need to take various exams. So for this reason, the Counseling Compact will address first and foremost the need of professionals, but also the need of all the communities in rurals, and that is why we ask you to strongly support this legislation and forward the healthcare access in Nevada. Thank you so much.
Good morning again, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Joelle McNutt, Executive Director for the State of Nevada Board of Examiners for Marriage and Family Therapists, Clinical Professional Counselors. And I'll keep my comments brief, but I just wanted to say for the record that the board is in full support of this bill. There are more extensive comments posted in the exhibits on Nellis. And I do want to just corroborate what Assemblymember Hafen said regarding the speed of licensure. So the background check will be done by the home state, and then the privilege to practice will essentially be granted as fast as the licensure system with the Compact Commission can do that. So we could potentially have more providers within hours to 24 hours. So I feel like the board is, their number one priority is first, obviously, public safety, right, and public protection. But what I have seen from my board through the time that I've been working for them is a sincere effort to decrease the barriers to licensure and positively impact access to care, and also workforce development. So we are in support of this bill, and I thank Assemblymember Hafen for his efforts in this, and it's been a pleasure to work with him throughout this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I don't see anyone else in support in person, so we're going to move to the phone lines. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line in support of Assembly Bill 388?
If you would like to
Excuse me,
testify
not
in
388,
support,
Assembly Bill 163. I got ahead of myself.
no problem, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of AB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 762, you are unmuted. Please continue.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jim Jobin, Jimjobin. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor and licensed clinical alcohol and drug counselor, And my colleagues and I authored a letter that's already been submitted in the exhibits of over 100 therapists in support of the bill. And I speak today on behalf of an additional 200 Nevada therapists who've jointly endorsed an amendment to Assembly Bill 163, which we have submitted to the committee entitled the Assessment Equality Amendment. And to be clear, we endorse the passage of AB 163. However, we fear that without this amendment, AB 163 will not achieve its intended purpose of attracting more therapists to Nevada. Our amendment addresses a scope of practice concern which prohibits counselors from performing any mental health testing without limitation. As we outline in our amendment's accompanying arguments, we believe that this unusual restriction will prevent other states' counselors from being able to practice in Nevada due to the restrictions incapacitating language. In our exhibit, we argue that if this barrier is not removed with our amendment, the counseling compact will not achieve its desired effect of attracting more providers to Nevada, since such a restriction exposes providers to unique professional liabilities unseen anywhere else in the country. We urge the committee to review those arguments in our exhibit and amend the bill so that it can achieve its intended effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And can we please move that into testimony in opposition? Thank you so much. Speaking of AVH, is there anyone else on the phone who might be in support of AB 388?
We are currently in support of Assembly Bill 163. If you would like to testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you so much. While we're with you, is there anyone who would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 163 on the phone line?
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 163, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you recently just joined us, we're currently in opposition of AB 163. If you would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Do we have anyone in person who'd like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 163? Not seeing anyone coming forward. Is there anyone who'd like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 163?
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 163, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. Minority Leader Hafen, would you like to come up and make any closing comments? Okay. Well, thank you so much. We are now missing committee members, so we probably will not be work sessioning anymore during this committee meeting, but we thank you so much for being here, and we are all in on having more hearings. And since I kept saying over and over and over again, while we're going to close the hearing on Assembly Bill 163, I kept repeating AB 388. So we are going to open the hearing on Assembly Bill 388, which revises provisions relating to employment. We're going to welcome up Assembly Member LaRue Hatch.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Chair Pazina and committee, for having me here today. I am Assemblymember Selena LaRue Hatch. I represent Assembly District 25, which is in West Reno, and I am delighted to be spending my first morning here with Senate Commerce and Labor. I am presenting AB 388, which is a bill to expand paid family medical leave here in Nevada. Now, in the Assembly, I brought many constituents with stories to tell, but we only have 3 days left, and so I chose to just come here myself and just tell my own story, because I think with paid family medical leave, every single one of us probably has a story in which we needed to take time off work to deal with family issues or with health. My own story is that my daughter, Abby, who is 7, was born a month early, and she was only 4 pounds when she was born. She had to spend time in the PICU, and I had an emergency C-section. I had to recover medically from that. She had to spend time in the hospital, and I ended up having to take 4 months away from work to care for her because of her unique needs from being born so early. I'm a teacher. We do not have extensive leave policies as teachers. My district let me use up all of my sick time, which was about 8 weeks, and then the rest of the time I had to go unpaid. And as a new teacher making about $40,000 a year, that was a significant sacrifice for my family. And we had to do it because of my daughter. I'm not alone in that. Most families have to go through these kind of decisions when they give birth. And moreover, some of you may have noticed that I have some hardware this session with the braces. That's because I had jaw surgery last November, and I actually had to take 6 weeks off where I was bandaged shut and I could not go to work. I didn't have the sick days to take those off. And so the only reason I was able to do that is my union has negotiated a system where other teachers can donate sick days to other teachers to take time off. Not everyone has a union that does that. Not everyone can rely on other people to donate sick days to you. And so these are examples of why I think paid family medical leave is essential in Nevada, because working Nevadans should not have to choose between their paycheck and their health, or between their rent and taking care of their families. Now, in addition to obviously the care that working families need, we also know that this is an economic issue. In the 13 states that have implemented paid family medical leave, they have seen significant economic gains. They have seen increases in productivity, decreases in turnover for companies, and we know there are $22.5 billion in lost wages annually from people taking unpaid leave. It's also a public health issue. People are putting off significant treatments that they need because they can't afford to miss work. And so those health issues compound until they become catastrophic, and then they have to go to the hospital with an emergency rather than getting the preventative treatment that they need. And we know that it is incredibly popular and incredibly desired by our constituents. So with that said, Chair, I can walk section by section through the bill, or I can just give you a general overview of what the bill does, whichever you prefer.
I will share with you, we didn't get this referred until about 10:30 p.m. last night, so
Okay.
It might not be a bad idea to go in a little more detail than we would usually ask in committee. We rarely ask for it, but because this was referred to us so late.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I'm a teacher. I have it annotated and highlighted and ready to go. So in the bill, Section 2 lays out the procedures and forms that would be developed if someone wants to take paid family medical leave. Section 3 indicates that employees have to be provided notice that they have eligibility to take this leave, that it is available for them. If we go on to Section 4, this bill applies to both public employees and private employees at companies of 50 or more. So I will just tell you Section 4 and Section 7 are almost identical. Section 4 is for the executive branch and NSHE employees. Section 7 is for local governments and private businesses with 50 or more employees. So I'll probably talk about them together just so that we don't have to repeat. But in Section 4, I'm looking on page 5, A through G, lays out the leave conditions for which someone can take leave. It says that you can take leave if you have a newborn child, if you have a new adoptive child, or you are fostering a child. You can take leave if you have a serious health condition, or if a family member has a serious health condition that you are caring for. And then importantly, we also included military leave, because we know that our military families have unique needs. If someone is being deployed, or God forbid something happened and you need to care for a family member, or you need to make arrangements, families need that access to that leave. And then G is for safe leave. So if you are the victim of domestic violence or sexual abuse or sexual assault, you can take the leave you need to heal, to get medical treatment, to get to a safe place, or to get your court documents in line. Right below that, there includes in subsection 2 a provision to protect 40 hours of sick leave. So companies can require employees to use their sick time to take this leave, but they have to protect at least 40 hours. So that way, when you come back, if you have follow-up appointments or some other issue, you can take those 40 hours for those. And then the subsection 3, I think, is one of the most critical parts of the bill, because it tells you how much employees will get paid while they are on leave. It includes a sliding scale, because we recognize someone making minimum wage cannot miss even $100 from their paycheck and still pay for rent or still pay for food. Whereas someone that's making $1 million a year probably doesn't need all of their pay while they are on leave. So that's where it says that if you're on leave, if you make more than 110% of the state average weekly wage, you would get 60% of your pay. If you make less than that, you would get 100% of your pay. Now, most of you probably don't have the state weekly average wage memorized and 110% of it ready to go. So I broke it down into actual numbers. Basically, if you make about $57,000 a year or less, you would get 100% of your pay while you're on leave. If you make more than that, you would get 60% of your pay. And then it is capped out. There's a maximum you can receive, which is about $78,000 a year. If you make more than that, that's where we're going to cap the amount that you can receive. Because someone making $2 million a year, we don't need to pay them their full amount while they are on leave. If we go to the next page, subsection 7 there, that is just where the Labor Commission can be involved in investigating if there's fraudulent use. The very bottom of page 6 is CBA protections, because I want to make very clear that we're not going to disrupt any collective bargaining agreements or anything that offers better leave policies. I wanted to make sure we protected those. Page 7 includes just definitions of child. I wanted to make very clear that we are honoring and recognizing all families, and all families do not look the same. So a child might be a biological child, it might be a stepchild, it might be adoptive, it might be foster. Same with family relations. It might be that your Aunt Sally, who you've cared for your whole life, is not actually a blood relation, but she has stood in as a blood relation, and so she should count if you have to care for her for family leave. At the bottom of that page is the military leave, where it talks about the different kinds of leave conditions for military leave. Page 8 talks about safe leave, which again, I already mentioned was domestic violence. If we go to page 11, that is section 7, which again is the same as section 4, but for private and local government, so I will not read that to you again. Section 9 is the same as section 3, which I already read to you. And then section 10 is the penalties. If an employer retaliates for somebody for taking this leave, there are penalties, or if they fail to provide the leave, there are penalties. And then the text of the repealed section, because we already had unpaid safe leave in statute, there are some portions of statute that we're repealing because now we are offering paid safe leave. And that is my briefest walkthrough of the bill, but I am happy to answer any questions. I would just like to state 13 other states have paid family medical leave. This does apply to businesses, but it is only businesses 50 or more. So we are not hitting our small businesses. And I actually had LCB look into those numbers. That is only 4% of businesses that would actually be impacted, but almost 1 million Nevadans would receive this benefit. So it is a significant benefit for our constituents without, I believe, being a significant harm on business. And with that, Chair, I am ready for questions.
Thank you so much. We'll start with Senator Lang.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. I know we're not a fiscal committee, but I was looking at the fiscal notes on this bill, and per biennium, it's about $900,000. And so I'm curious if you could speak to the fiscal notes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we actually did a lot of work on those fiscal notes, and the fiscal notes were revised. Pretty much every state agency either said there wasn't a fiscal or it couldn't be determined. And she was the only one that did not take away their fiscal note, but they revised it down to about $200,000 in the first year and about $470,000 in the second year. Part of that is we already expanded paid family medical leave for state employees last session. And in that hearing in the fiscal committee last session, they mentioned that these positions are already budgeted for, right? We are already budgeting to pay them 100% of the time. And so continuing to pay them while they're on leave doesn't actually cost any more money, especially if it's a position that doesn't require a substitute to come in. And so for some agencies, yes, they would need a substitute or someone to come in, and there will be a cost. But it will not be, I think, as significant as initially some folks were reading the bill. I think additionally, we also pushed out the implementation date by 2 years on purpose so that agencies would have more time to look at this, more time to look at their budget, and then they could actually preemptively write it into the budget if they felt that they needed extra funds to pay for this.
I was looking for our chair. Thank you. Okay, so I really like paid family leave, but I think of my kids that live in Washington State, and they had a baby and they had paid family leave, and they were off for 6 weeks, and the state paid them, and that was all great and everything. I think about our state, and compared to a state like Washington with the tax base and the amount of money that comes into the state, I'm just really curious. It's really hard for me to get to the place, even though I believe in it, that I think we can afford it, right? And that businesses can afford it, because I look at businesses and they have so much, so many things that they have to pay for. And I worked for a small business. I was an operation manager, and we could never have afforded to pay for paid family leave. We barely made it from month to month, and so I'm really concerned about. I mean, I get what you say about small businesses, and I'm just really concerned about business and how we could afford this as a state. I know in some states, the employee pays some for paid medical leave and the state pays some, and so there's a combination. So I'm just curious how the operational part of this would work.
Thank you so much for the question, and Chair, through you to Senator Lang. That is something that I thought about deeply as well, and it's why we worked into the bill the 50 employee threshold, because from my research, the definition of a small business is under 50 employees, and I didn't want to hit our small businesses. And in looking at it, as I said in the comments, employers that employ 50 or more make up only 4% of business in the state. 96% of businesses would not be impacted by this. And I think that is important, that we are really looking at our largest businesses. And even looking at those, I actually looked up some corporations and businesses and the paid leave that they offer. Citibank currently offers 16 weeks of paid family medical leave. Bank of America is 16 weeks paid and additional 10 weeks unpaid. Google is 18 weeks of paid employment. Hilton is 4 weeks of paid parental leave and 12 weeks to the actual birthing parent. 16 weeks for IKEA. Fidelity Investments is 12 weeks. These are major companies that are continuing to make a profit and are continuing to employ people, and they've been able to figure this out. And so I think that it is something that is doable. In the 13 states that have implemented it, some of them have done like you described in Washington with the employer-employee contributions, but others have not. And business has not cratered or collapsed in those states. They figured out how to pay for it. And additionally, that's also why I pushed out the implementation date, so that businesses have time to adapt, so that the state has time to adapt. And if there is some oversight or something that we have to fix, we have time to fix it next session before it goes into effect.
Okay. Do we have other questions? Senator Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I was trying to get through the bill, it was late last night, but question I've got, don't they have to use up their vacation time and have to use all that stuff up that they've got coming prior to going to the small businesses?
Yeah, Chair, through you to Senator Ellison. That is correct. In the bill, the employer and the state can require them to use the leave they have available, the vacation or sick leave that they have stored up. They have to protect 40 hours so that if there is something catastrophic when they return from leave, they still have some cushion. But you are correct that they can take it from the leave that they already have available before they go into this paid leave program.
And I know other employees can donate there, because when my son was sick, everybody, donated hours and hours and hours and hours of their vacation time up until he passed. So I mean, there's other ways to because small businesses, because they got so many employees, some of them just right now are not making it.
Yeah, thank you so
thank
much for
you.
that. No, I agree, and that's why we specifically excluded small businesses, so that we wouldn't impact them, because I recognize the time that we are in, and we don't want to cause a burden. Some places, like my school district, does allow us to share sick days among teachers, but unfortunately not every employer does that. And so I want to make sure for those folks that don't have access to that, they do have the time to care for their health or care for their families and not risk losing their home or not having money to put food on the table.
Okay. I don't see any further questions from the committee at this time. So we'll have you go ahead and take a step back. I will remind everyone we only have 10 minutes for support, 10 minutes for opposition, and 10 minutes for neutral. And if you'd like to say ditto or me too, that definitely works. And with that, we will start testimony in support of Assembly Bill 388 in our physical locations and then move to our phones.
Good morning, Alexander Marks with Nevada State Education Association. We took a strong position to extend paid family leave to educators at our delegate assembly last year, so we're happy to see this bill making progress. No educator should have to choose between their health, caring for a loved one, or maintaining financial stability. Comprehensive paid leave is critical to attracting and retaining high-quality educators, supporting healthy workforce, and ultimately building strong public schools across Nevada. We ask for your support. Thank you.
Good morning, Serena Evans, Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. We are in strong support of this bill. I routinely hear from victim survivors and advocates that they choose to stay in abusive relationships because they cannot afford to leave. They are quite literally risking death because they cannot afford to take time off and seek safety. So I do want to remind you all that Nevada ranks second for domestic violence and fifth for rapes per capita. So Nevada is in desperate need of this, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Ross Kinson with the Northern Nevada Central Labor Council, and on behalf of the 40 different unions and 14,000 members we represent up in the north, we are in full support of this bill. Paid family medical leave is something that is necessary for people to take time to take care of their family, to actually make sure that they are, when they're at work, that they're the best that they can be. And right now we have a lot of folks who don't do that, and so this bill is imperative not only for the workers but for their employers. All right, thanks.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cassie Charles on behalf of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. We are here in strong support of AB 388, and I really want to emphasize that this is good policy for state employees. We have heard time and time again that, folks in the year 2025 are just one sickness away from instability, and that is true for state employees as well. We put out a survey to all of our members prior to supporting this bill, and we hear stories of folks being hospitalized for 2 weeks and then had home care at home, and their ability to access their paid family medical leave made them anxious if they were even able to cover their leftover expenses after insurance. Getting half pay really does significantly affect our members and our state employees every single day, especially with the rising cost of healthcare and the rising cost of living expenses. We really strongly urge your support here. Thank you.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Jessica Munger, M-U-N-G-E-R, with Silver State Equality, Nevada's statewide LGBTQ+ civil rights organization, in strong support of AB 488. Our community members, like all, sometimes require a village when big life changes occur, and it's time to prioritize family above all. When my child was born, I was eligible for 6 weeks unpaid leave. I remember the countless nights when I was up crying alongside the baby because I knew I had to be at work the next morning. My child was also born with a cleft lip and palate, which meant that on top of the normal child care duties, we had doctors every single day for about 6 weeks. It was impossible, but we were not in a situation where I was able to take 6 weeks unpaid leave, so I took 3, and then I had to work because we couldn't afford it. And my child and my wife and my early life, our experience would have been a lot different with paid family medical leave. Really hear about this issue a lot from our community because the LGBTQ community has a family building process that can look quite different. So I want to say thank you so much for your consideration. This is a very important bill.
Good morning. My name is Aisha Goins, Aeshagoins. I'm here on behalf of SEIU 1107 and our over 20,000 members, and we just really appreciate the sponsor for bringing this bill. Our members have always been forward-facing as it relates to the benefits for making sure that we have our families cared for and the ability to move forward in life without it being a detriment. And so we appreciate the sponsor and thank you. We support this bill.
For the record, Ryan Beeman representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. Just ditto some of the comments that it was said by our AFSCME representatives as we represent some of our state firefighters throughout the state for the state of Nevada. And this really enforces people being able to take care of their loved ones and having time off. Thank you.
Good morning. Tess Opferman here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby. The United States is one of 6 countries in the world that doesn't offer some form of national paid leave. Of the 186 countries that do offer paid leave, the average number of weeks for maternity leave is 29, and the average number of weeks for paternity leave is 16 weeks. This bill only asks for 12 weeks and applies to only 4% of businesses. Further, this is not free time off. You have to have a qualifying event, having a child, caring for someone with cancer. This is not extreme policy. It is a measured and fair bill, something countries worldwide have implemented and many businesses here in Nevada already provide. We urge you to join the 13 other states in the United States that offer some form of paid family medical leave and pass this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, members of Senate Commerce and Labor. My name is Annie Vong, ANNIE-VONG, on behalf of American Heart Association and ditto. Thank you.
Kent Irvin, KENTERVIN, for the Nevada Faculty Alliance. Ditto. In higher education, we don't have a formal substitute instructor mechanism. Faculty tend to try to time conception to the semester schedule, and we really need the extra time as well as flexibility around course schedules. Thank you.
Kaylin Cardavani, KARDAVANI, on behalf of New Day, Nevada, and we will say ditto. Thanks.
Anybody in Las Vegas for support testimony? Seeing none, we'll go to the phone lines. Broadcast. How much time do we have?
Thank you. If you would like to testify in support of AB 388, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 211, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please continue.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jessica Padron on behalf of AARP Nevada. In respect of the committee's time, further comments have been submitted and uploaded to Nellis. But I'd just like to note really quickly, as part of our advocacy for unpaid family caregivers, seniors, and those with chronic illness, we are in strong support of this bill. We thank the sponsor for bringing this today. On average, family caregivers spend over $7,000 annually out of pocket on gas, medicine, taking their loved one to medical appointments, and it usually takes a huge toll on their own health outcomes. So we are very grateful for bills like this that help improve those conditions and make it easier for those being cared for as well as the family caregivers. So thank you for your time, and we urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the callers that are listening, we have about 2 minutes left for our 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. So we'll get as many callers as we can. Please keep it short. Anybody else, if you have comments, you can send in through the email or give your comments to staff and we'll get it in the record. So next caller, please.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Shelby Swartz, SHELBIE I'm a mom to a toddler. I'm now pregnant with our second child. And I'm here to urge your support for AB 388 because no family should be punished for needing time to heal, recover, or simply be present with their loved ones. And with the time constraints, I will say ditto to everything everybody else has said. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good morning, committee. Ben Challinor, BenJaminChallinor, on behalf of the Alzheimer's Association and the 55,000 Nevadans living with Alzheimer's. There are 87,000 caregivers who provide over 146 million hours of unpaid caregiving work at an estimated value of $3.1 billion. Here in support of this bill, in addition, as a new parent who went through paid family leave for caring for my newborn, strong support as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, we have 1 minute left, so this will be our last caller. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tara Webster, TARAWEBSTER, on behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada to enthusiastically support Assembly Bill 388. Recognition and support for this issue is growing across the United States, and it's about time Nevada joined the ranks in expanding job protections through paid family medical leave. Personally, I'm so fortunate my husband was able to take the necessary time to stay home when our son was born, and this bill will ensure state employees have the same opportunity. We strongly support AB 388 and hope members of the committee will as well.
Thank you. And as I said, anyone else on the lines, if you have testimony that you want to put in, you can submit it in writing, and we'll be happy to get that on the record. So with that, we'll close out the support and ask for anybody in opposition. Again, 10 minutes for opposition testimony. Come on up and proceed, Edge, whoever wants to go first.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. Paul Moratkin with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in opposition to AB 388. We do appreciate the conversations with the proponents. However, the Chamber is opposed to the premise of the bill because the implementing and funding of mandated paid family leave, the cost for employers, the potential leading to reduced competitiveness and impact on staffing levels. Also, it is a concern as we try to attract new business to the state, especially compared to what other states are doing, since there's not a federal mandate or policy. So for those reasons, we are opposed to the bill today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Vice Chair Daley, members of the committee. For the record, Andrew McCammon, the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. Echoing Mr. Moratkin's comments, we're in opposition to the bill. This bill is going to capture all but, I believe, 2 or 3 of our members. And it is going to be a substantial cost to our businesses, and it's a contingent liability that is going to be extremely difficult to pay for. It's important to note that the success of our businesses, and we encompass about 15% of the retail economy in the state of Nevada, is 100% predicated on our employees. We want our employees to be compensated well. We compensate them. I think the only industry that pays our employees at a higher rate is mining. And so we know that our success is entirely predicated on the well-being and the happiness of our employees. However, we don't believe that this measure is the answer and the solution to that. And so, Mr. Vice Chair, we're opposed. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Trey Abney, representing small business job creators of NFIB Nevada, will associate myself with the comments that came before me. While we do appreciate the exemption for businesses who employ fewer than 50 people, we can't ever support a one-size-fits-all approach. As I've said here before, if you've seen one small business, you've seen one small business. Not every employee is interchangeable. You may have 50 other employees who work for you, but only 1 or 2 HR or accounting professionals. The sponsor talked about the effective date giving businesses time to adapt. That means that they will have time to calculate how high their prices need to go to figure out how to comply with this bill. If I may be blunt, if the government of the state of Nevada believes that it is important to pay people in this state to not work for 3 months, then the state of Nevada can pay for that. Imagine the fiscal note on that. We know in this building that bills with incredibly large fiscal notes or impacts to the state budget have a very hard time getting passed out of here, but we don't always seem to have the same concern for fiscal notes that affect the private sector and job creators, and I think we should. So we would urge you not to process this bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And remember, we do have 10 minutes, so any Me Too's or Dittos work too. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Brian Walker, Senior Vice President of the Retail Association of Nevada. It's ironic we're here to talk about, I think, the commerce of labor today. And labor is the #1 input into a business beyond the utilities, beyond property tax. And so when you have a state policy that requires retailers to almost double our employment costs because we are forward-facing, we have to replace that employee. And so when we guarantee that job when you come back, but we are using that income for that employee in order to be able to provide that service and give it to another employee. And so in order to have to do both, we will have to increase the cost of labor, and we will, of course, be passing that along to consumers, and this will result in higher consumer prices. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. We are in opposition to AB 388. The broad definitions and the impact that it's going to have on the big businesses that do, bring employment to this state, and the impact that it's going to have on local governments. We are opposed. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. John Leleu, L-E-L-E-U, here on behalf of NAOP, Commercial Development Association, and its 700 statewide members. I'm going to ditto the comments of my predecessors and the people who are going to come after me. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Warren Hardy, representing the Nevada Urban Consortium, which is made up of the 5 largest cities and representing over 50% of the residents. In addition to the points that have been made, I would also like to point out, and I haven't done an exhaustive research, but I think this would be an unprecedented event in terms of putting local government employers into the private employer statute, which we are uncertain what the implications of that would be and have concerns about that, in addition to everything that has already been indicated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We'll take 2 more in Carson City. We'll go to 3 in Vegas and then to the phones. Be very quick, though, because there's only about 5 minutes left.
Thank you, Chair Pizzina, committee members, Misty Grimmer representing the Nevada Resort Association. We also are in opposition to this bill. We are the largest employers in the state, and so this would be a disproportionate impact on our members. While in most cases, a lot of employment bills, it's helpful for there to be an exclusion for employees.
Ms. Modorex, I'll add you to the list. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
It's good that there's an exclusion for small businesses, but in the case of a bill like this, large businesses mean very large payrolls, which makes this even more expensive. And I'd echo the comments of the previous.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, Terry Gray speaking for Nevada Trucking Association and Nevada Manufacturing Association, and we just share the same concerns that have already been expressed by the opposition testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to Vegas, and then we have 4 minutes left. So if you can be very, very quick, and then we'll go to the phones, and ditto and me too works. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Pizzina and members of the committee. My name is Anahit Bakhshetian, a policy analyst for Nevada Policy, and today we come in strong opposition for AB 388. I'm going to echo all of the concerns that we heard before me, but one number that we heard very frequently, that this bill affects only 5% of the businesses. Very true, but this 5% employ over 60% of the labor force in Nevada, and over 60% of the labor force will now be entitled to benefits that will pass the cost down to employers, consumers, everybody who is affected by the entire market. So for these reasons, we cannot pass policies that empower only employees. Nevada thrives when employers and employees are empowered, not sacrificed for one another. And please oppose this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Chair Pizzina and members of the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg. I'm here representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce and over 2,000 members, the majority of whom are small businesses, to express our strong opposition to AB 388. While ensuring employee well-being is an important goal, this bill places an undue burden on Nevada businesses, especially small businesses. And I just wanted to add that small businesses aren't necessarily just defined by 50 employees or less. There's more factors that go into deciding what a small business is. So we urge you to oppose this bill on behalf of the small business community. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, Samantha Barnes, on behalf of LVGEA, we'd like to echo all of the concerns, and we are strongly opposed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the brief comments in Vegas, and we're going to move to the phones broadcast. A reminder to those on the line that other people may not have a chance to speak depending on how long you go, so be quick, and thank you so much for being here.
If you would like to testify in opposition of AB 388, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in opposition of AB 388, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Okay, look at that. Apparently the callers who were on the line dropped off. So thank you so much. We're going to move to neutral on Assembly Bill 388. I don't know how many people will be here in neutral, but if they are, come to the table. I don't see anyone coming. So we are going to move to the phone lines. Okay. Anyone who's on the phone lines broadcast who would like to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 388, we would love to hear from you.
If you would like to testify neutral on AB 388, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Okay, I would love to invite our sponsor back to the table to make any closing comments. And thank you again so much for being here today. And as I've shared before, we really appreciate it because I know how last minute this was. So we really appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Selena LaRue Hatch, for the record. And I will join you any morning that you invite me for a hearing. A couple things I just want to touch on. First off, we are one of only 6 nations in the entire world that does not have paid family medical leave. There are 13 other states that have paid family medical leave. Businesses continue to operate in those places. Their economies have not imploded. We expanded paid family medical leave to our state employees last session, and our state agency budgets did not suddenly explode because of this leave. As was said in that hearing before, and as I mentioned in the fiscal hearing on the Assembly side, we have already budgeted for these positions. We are not asking to pay extra money. And we have already seen from this being in effect for our state employees that it is not costing extra money. Again, it is only impacting 4% of businesses. So most businesses will not see an impact here. And one thing I really want to address, one of the commenters made what I think is a really disturbing comment that shows a complete lack of understanding of this bill, which is the idea that we want to pay people to not work for 3 months. I don't think that a parent who is staying home to care for a special needs child is trying to get out of work. I don't think that a grandparent who is adopting their grandchild because their child died is trying to get out of work. I don't think someone that is caregiving for their spouse who has Alzheimer's is trying to get out of work. And I think to imply that people who are having these severe, serious life events are trying to just get out of work for 3 months to get paid for not working is offensive and disturbing, and I wanted to make sure that we understand what we are actually talking about here. So with that, I thank you so much for your consideration of this bill, and I urge you to support this bill for working families in Nevada.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question, please? Thank you. Thank you for the bill, and along with what you were just talking about, certainly as a head of an agency that had paid leave, I did have problems with abuse, right, of the leave. Most people use it correctly. But you have in Section 7 here that the division may investigate any instance in which it has reason to believe that an employee has taken paid leave to which the employee is not entitled. Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
Thank you so much, Chair, through you to Senator Steinbeck. I really appreciate that you caught that in the bill, and I know I went through it briefly, but this is meant to protect good actors, people that are taking good faith leave for real, legitimate reasons. And so I added that into the bill so that if someone is abusing this, there is an avenue for a business to go through the labor commissioner, and there can be penalties. They can ask for pay to be returned for leave that was taken under false pretenses. There is protections for businesses if someone was to try to abuse the system. And it was for that exact reason that you just mentioned. If there is a bad faith actor that is trying to manipulate the system, we will catch them, and there are penalties for that.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that, but what you're going to run into is some HIPAA issues, right? I mean, as far as verifications.
Thank you so much for that. And that's part of what we need to work through regulations. It's part of what we need to work through with the labor commissioner, and I've been in conversations with them, and that's part of why we pushed out the implementation date as well, so that we can work through those issues. Again, there are other states that have done this, and they've worked through it, and I think that we can use those models to make sure it's working.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you for your answer.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation today. And with that, we will close the hearing on Assembly Bill 388, and we will move to our final order of business, which is public comment. We would welcome anyone who'd like to make public comment, not on any of the bills that were presented today. However, anything germane to commerce and labor, we would absolutely love to hear from you. So I don't see anyone coming forward in our physical locations, though if you have a change of heart, please head on up. AVH, is there anyone on the line who'd like to make public comment for commerce and labor?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, your public line is open and working. You have no callers that wish to provide comment at this time.
Thank you so much. As everyone on the committee knows, and for staff, we did receive 10 additional bills yesterday, and we heard 5 of them this morning, but that means we still have 5 more bills to hear. So we will be meeting again, likely tomorrow morning. I'm hoping not too early because I think we all need to get a little bit of sleep. That said, we will be in touch with the schedule for tomorrow morning in order to meet again for Commerce and Labor. And a huge thank you as well to our staff who work so hard to ensure that these run smoothly every day, even when they get very little notice. So with that, we are adjourned.